Hello. So in this video, we're going to introduce the definition of worldview. So here's the thing. Nobody really knows how to define worldview. The word worldview itself isn't like, let's say, the word biology that has a lot of very specific it has very specific definition to it. For example, biology, by definition, means bios, which is life, and then logos, which is study. Therefore, biology is the study of life. Worldview, however, is an English translation of the German word Weltanschauung that has a really sort of complicated origin story. In fact, Weltanschauung was made up by the philosopher Immanuel Kant when he was trying to explain a really complicated idea. In fact, here's the quote, and this is where Weltanschauung or worldview first appears, and it's a quote from the German philosopher Kant. And so tell me if you can follow this. So here's what Kant says. If the human mind is nonetheless to be able even to think the given infinite without contradiction, it must have within itself a power that is supersensible, whose idea of the noumenal cannot be intuited, but can yet be regarded as a substrate underlying what is mere appearance, namely our intuition of the world. Our intuition of the world, and that is Weltanschauung. That's what he's using it, the intuition of the world. And Kant goes on to say, so tell me, do you have any idea what that means? I didn't think so. Nobody does. But here's the thing. A lot of thinkers liked the sound of Weltanschauung when Kant used it, and they started using it for their own writing. However, they all used it in a slightly different way and with slightly different meanings. And the word Weltanschauung or worldview sort of became like a Rorschach test. Writers could see whatever they wanted to in that term. Now, for our class, we don't really need to spend a lot of time going through, how the word was used and all the different definitions of it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use a definition that is really widely accepted by a lot of different people. It seems like James Sire's definition in his book, Naming the Elephant, has been adopted by more people than any other. So we're going to use it too. However, you're going to see that his definition is really long, so we're going to adopt it a little bit. So here's Sire's definition of worldview. Here we go. A worldview is a commitment, a fundamental orientation of the heart that can be expressed as a story or in a set of presuppositions, assumptions which may or may not be true, partially true, entirely false, which we hold consciously or subconsciously, consistently or inconsistently about the basic constitution of reality, and that provides the foundation on which we live and move and have our being. So that's James Sire's. Again, that's a mouthful. And so nobody really is able to memorize that. I could never memorize that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to sort of boil it down into a simplified version of that. And this is going to be our official definition for the class. So here's our official definition for our class. A worldview is a heart commitment which is expressed through a set of unconsciously or consciously held presuppositions about reality. Now, we could actually break this definition down even more to an oversimplified version, which we're not going to use, but I just want to show you how there is a even simpler way of putting it. So here's an oversimplified way of thinking of it. A worldview is a set of presuppositions about reality. Now, the key word here is presuppositions. A presupposition is something you take for granted. For example, you just take it for granted that the sun is going to come up tomorrow. You don't think about it. You just assume it's going to happen. Now, the problem with presuppositions is when people presuppose different things. For example, someone from America presupposes that women should be able to drive and vote, but someone from a fundamentalist Islamic nation will presuppose that women shouldn't drive or vote. And so this class is going to be looking at those presuppositions, the things that we take for granted. And here's probably the most fundamental statement that we could make about what this class is going to do. And this is sort of underlying everything that we're doing in this class. Here it is. The only thing you can take for granted is that you can't take anything for granted. That's the key to everything that we're going to be doing. So let's summarize what we looked at in this video. First of all, there is no universally accepted definition of worldview. Secondly, we will turn to the definition that seems to be most widely accepted within Christian worldview studies. And so, thirdly, that definition is a worldview is a heart commitment which is expressed through a set of unconsciously or consciously held presuppositions about reality. And lastly, in our class, we're going to be building upon this basic idea. The only thing you can take for granted is that you can't take anything for granted. Thank you for watching this video.